Poop talk.
You're live, by the way, right now.
No way, dude. Are you serious?
Yeah, I just did that to you.
Ladies and gentle folk, welcome to the Daily Summa. Today is March 25th, the third week event.
I am not a tree.
You can't just throw me into the box, dude. I've got to have a little prep. It's the third week of End. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the third week of Lent, and it's also the Feast of the Annunciation. This is when Mary learned that she was no longer going to be living a life of contemplation and celibate prayer as she thought she was, but instead she's going to have a family with a baby. A little bundle of joy that'll later be spit on and crucified. Sorry, boss. It's a joyous feast, Joe. The Annunciation.
It is when you make it, yeah.
Yeah, it is what you make it. Exactly. It's like that last scene of Life of Brian when they're all crucified.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Life of Brian?
Yep. Yeah, you got me to watch it.
I got you to watch it?
Mm-hmm.
That scene in the end where they're all on the crucifixes and they're singing, always look on the bright side of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This beaver galleon the Lord has us on. It's got a lot of interesting plot twists we might not have expected. How are you doing this morning, Joe?
I'm a little tired. I might do a little nappy poo before I leave today to do all the things I have to do with the car and all that stuff.
Yeah, I am not tired. I got to sleep early last night, I think. And
okay, so yeah, I bought a new car. If anyone cares.
Yeah, sure. We're going to talk about that.
Joe, we're going to talk about one thing with it. Yeah,
Joe and I were together last night.
Yeah, very briefly.
He informed me right before I began my feast, having not eaten much during the day because I was about to have one of those big cheeseburgers and do it right, not the hockey puck cheeseburger that I serve you, but I'm doing it properly. I'm like salivating, ready to start the feast, starting to get dim in the sky. And my man Joe calls me up and says, "Hey, can you drive 2 hours and help me pick up a vehicle?" I was like, "Dude, for you, of course, Joe."
Still felt bad though.
Well, the thing is though, hanging out with friends, seeing the new vehicle and all that, it was literally like nothing. The only time it was difficult is at the very end, after you were gone. I had done evening prayer and it was dark. There was something that happened. Oh, the dog. These animals around here, man. The cat jumped up on the cutting board this morning. I'm sorry to hog the conversation, but I gotta get these things worked out. So I'm fine. And then I started reflecting on it. Maybe I was a little hangry, but the dog kept getting in the way, and I've got hot oil and sparks and blades and knives, and the dog's underfoot. And it's already later than normal. I'm going to have a belly full of food at 10 p.m. or whatever. But so the funny thing is I raised my voice to the dog, and the dog, I'm always so sweet to this dog that the dog has no fear of Craig.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's not my dog to put the fear of Craig into. It's their dog. So I'm not going to do that. So when I turn and yell at the dog, the dog's like, wagging its tail. "Okay, Craig, whatever." Oh gosh. But anyway, it ended up very nicely. Um, had one little glass of bourbon laid down right after eating, after Vespers and eating, and then I put on Handel's Messiah. Made a little locals video. By the way, guys, I
Oh, yeah, that
showed.
was like the beginning of it makes you reminds me of like that found footage, like Blair Witch trial
I know.
style thing. The
Here's what
flash of your
happened.
face in the
I
light, the
know.
shaky
Here's what
camera.
happened.
It's great.
I
Great.
thought about redoing it. I thought about like deleting that, but I watched it back and I was like, this is too good. This is just too good. If you guys want to know what we're talking about, go to locals and what do you subscribe, sign up? What do they call it?
All you have to do is just like follow it basically. You don't have to pay money to see I don't think to see the
Well, that's
content right now.
BS. Make them pay money. Y'all can't see this brilliant footage for free. This is brilliant Blair Witch
I
footage,
wouldn't pay
guys.
money for that. I'm just throw that out there.
Yeah, but you don't love me like they do.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
That doesn't make sense.
This is true.
Yeah, guys. No, it was great. Because what happened, it was my iPad that I took the video with. It was dark in the room. The only thing you could see was the candle, but there was a little light on my face. And I opened the iPad in the dark, listening to Comfort Ye My People. That beautiful first song of Handel's Messiah. It's so amazing. And I'm listening to it and I'm kind of wrapped in the moment. And I'm used to taking video with my phone, and this iPad has that big flippy floppy cover to it. And as I hit to record, I realized the camera's turned towards me and I'm trying to film that candle.
Yeah.
And so I go to lift up my hand. Well, you get the idea. And that flippy floppy thing hits and it falls to the ground. And then I pick it back up and I turn the camera around. And then after
you dropped it.
Yeah, I know. Watch it back. You'll hear the clunk. And then when I looked back at it, I was like, my first thought was they're going to think I'm drunk, which at that point I hadn't drank a drop. But when that was my first thought, they're going to think I'm drunk. And the second thing was I saw it and I was like, I didn't think Blair Witch Project, but I thought this is just too good. This is too funny. It's too much of a little insight into the. So anyway, it was beautiful listening to the beginning of Handel's Messiah. This is like almost a little Christmas, a little mini Christmas, as was St. Joseph's feast day recently. And the other thing that bugged me with the dog was I had seen that picture of Jesus that I showed you when you got here yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And that deeply affected me. I was still being affected by that. And the crucifixion, and this is God's game plan. You know, I'm still working with it this morning. This is God's game plan. We had a bouncing baby boy that, woo! There's a lot of stuff that goes on in this world. I mean, Alex O'Connor talks about a deer getting caught under I mean, that bugs him. There's a deer somewhere in the world caught under a fallen tree, and he's going to sit there and suffer. Alex doesn't like that one.
I get it.
No God. Everything is completely orchestrated perfectly. The sun and the moon just happen to be the right size for there to be an eclipse and this right distance, or everything works out, the body, the code, and the genes. But there's a deer caught under a tree. No God. But I understand it. I understand it. I don't like the game plan either.
Yeah.
But here's a weird thing. We also don't like Karen. You know what I mean? We don't want suffering. We don't like that. But we also don't like the privileged kind of easy life. Karen, blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girl with her daddy gave her a Porsche when she was 18. We don't like that either. Mm-hmm. It's like we're not happy with anything.
That's true. That's what it is.
All right. That's my morning rant. Were you going to say something, Joe?
Yeah. So at some point, like 5 minutes ago, I was going to say something. Yeah.
Yeah. Please.
But so I bought this car yesterday from a nice young Mohammedan gentleman. Um, but one thing I neglected to check on it were the lights. So I pop out and start
Oh,
driving, and I turn on the lights, and I'm like, "Wow, those look really dim." I turn the brights, and I can barely see anything, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And it's
wow.
like
That,
8:40,
yeah, I know.
and so I look up an auto plays because I'm like, I need to figure this out, like an AutoZone or whatever. And
That's what
they're
you
all
want when you
closing at
first get a new
9, and
car,
they're all like
to go to
15, 20 minutes
AutoZone.
away. Yeah, yeah. Um, So I find one that's open till 10, the one that's open till 10 that I've ever found in my life. Never heard this before, but I found one that's open till 10. So I drive over to this super sketchy AutoZone. It was sketch inside. It was crazy. So I go inside, and when you go, if you ever replaced a headlight, you go in the AutoZone, you go to the headlight spot. They have a little book, and you find your make and model. You pick out the headlight you want, whatever. No book in this AutoZone. Someone stole it or something. It's just not there. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I go outside again. I grab my phone from the car, and then I start looking through it. I'm like, okay, like what kind of headlight? Find a headlight I need. Turns out I have one of those really, really fancy headlights that cost like over $100.
Mm.
So I'm like, oh, that sucks. So I'm like, well, if it's a
Congratulations.
headlight problem, then it's fine. I'll buy one of these. I need it anyway. If it's not a headlight problem, I don't want to buy two of them because then neither will work anyway. I'll spend $200 for no reason. So I buy one. I go outside. Of course, it's not like a newer car where you can just reach in and mess with the headlights. I have to hit like a
Are
socket
you
wrench. So
happy
I
at this
go,
point,
no, I'm
or are
pissed.
you? Yeah,
I'm
I
so
love it.
upset.
This
Yeah,
makes the story so much better for me.
so I go inside again. I'm like, hey man, do you have a socket wrench I could borrow? He's like, what size? And I'm like every size, like 10 millimeter, whatever, who knows. So I go out there again, and then I unscrew it, and I pop it off. And then when I look at the light, I'm like, huh, that's weird. It's not even plugged in. I wonder if there's a reason for that. So I plug it back in, flip the switch, light comes on. I'm like, okay, let's see if the other one's busted or just unplugged. So I open the other one up. It's actually busted. So the light was not a useless purchase, at least. But then, so I'm like, okay, I finally get on the road. That took like 40 minutes to get all that done. So I told my
That's
wife I'd be home
awesome.
at 10:30. I was home at like 11:30.
I hope that you guys had a little date night planned too, like a little private time planned,
No,
and
no way. I
that
was gonna go to
got in the
sleep.
way of it.
I was so tired, dude. I was gonna go sleep.
See, I wish dark things on you, and that's
Yeah, you do.
because I love you. This
Mm.
world that God has is weird. Um, but good story, Joe. Through the middle of it, I think my brain did what people's brains do when I'm reading the I answer that, the respondio.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, wait, okay, there was a light and there was a screw and something happened, and I don't know how lights work in the car. That's what happened. My brain just blurred, which
Yeah,
I'm guessing is what
basically.
happens when you're reading the Summa. It's like when Thomas goes out philosophically.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, I'll take your word for it. Just what's the bottom line, Thomas?
Basically, I didn't even have to purchase a light necessarily. That guy had just never fixed it or plugged it back in or whatever.
Bless
I would
his
have been
heart.
fine to go home otherwise.
Maybe he was fasting. It was Ramadan. He was
So he
hangry.
unplugged the lights out of
He
his
was
car.
hangry too. He
Yeah.
was hangry too. He's like, screw, just stick this thing in here.
Oh man.
I don't know how much time we burned, but I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation today. First, let's get some formalities out of the way. I dedicate this study. I offer this study up for Mother Gabriella today, because I'm going to go have coffee with Mother Gabriella today. I'm very much looking forward to it. We might have stories tomorrow because we had decided to try to not really breaking into. Decided to try to get into this house that you can see from a certain coffee shop that's across the river, the little rivulet. I think I told you about it.
Yep.
And it's got this cool looking red staircase that goes down to the bottom of the river that you can only access this dude's house. So Mother Gabriella and I have hatched a plan to try to get into this guy's house with his permission, of course. Me and the nun break into his house. We found out when he's at work, and me and Mother Gabriella. Okay, the other formality. Can we move the skull through the desert?
Yes, of course.
Tick,
There we go.
tock, tick, tock. What would be the proper music for that? Do 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 do.
Maybe Indiana Jones, like how they're moving the arrow on the map,
Ooh, that's very good. Maybe if it's probably too much trouble. It'd be easier to
I'm
put a
not
new
gonna do
light.
that, dude.
It'd be easier to put a new light in my car. Okay, can we put up a picture of Leah and Mike? Leah was reading a book yesterday.
Oh, you wanted me to? Oh gosh, okay. You have to let me know when you're sending me photos just for fun, and when
Do
you
you
want me
think
to
I was
actually
just
have them.
okay?
I'll
I'll be
need on
more
the thing.
clear. I thought it was clear, but I'll be more clear. You're right. Communication is key. That's why military has confirmation. You know, they'll say fox over, dog in the hole, dog in the hole, repeat, dog in the hole, confirm, dog in the hole. That's why you're always confirming. The military knows how to do things so that there's no confusion. Leah, one of our viewers, was reading a book yesterday, I guess, and in the book they referenced a quote, and she was like, I know this quote from watching the Daily Summa. And of course she looks down at the footnote, and it is indeed Thomas from the Daily Summa, Prima pars, and they sent it to me, the quote that she knew from watching the Daily Summa. We're going to have to fly through this page. We're done with this. Boom. Let us
Wow,
go
look,
on.
there it is. There's the picture you asked for.
Look at that. Reading a book on, I think, near-death experiences, NDEs, as they call it. That sounds scientific-y. NDEs, near-death experiences. And she was reading this book, and bam, there was a quote, and she knew it from studying Summa. Guys, I don't know if you know this or not, but this is an ongoing meditation on the presence of God. And today is the day that the Son of God entered into our world. It's March 25th, so I guess we're 9 months from December 25th. That's the whole thing. This is the day we're celebrating Mary's fiat, Mary receiving the word. You know, she had planned to be celibate. That's why she said, how can this be? Because I do not know man. Obviously, she knew how birds and bees work.
Right,
you know?
right. The mechanics weren't lost on her.
The mechanics weren't lost on the seat of wisdom. But so that's all I'm saying is that's a big life change. You kind of have it in your head, celibate. We're in this marriage, you know, for protection purposes and life things, and we both want to serve God and pray. So we're going to, you know, there have been celibate marriages in the past, often kings and queens or something. But no, you're gonna raise a baby. I'm curious. I guess I just don't care today about getting to this. I am curious if
we're at 19 minutes, by the way.
That's fun.
Okay.
I'm curious if she knew about. She must have, because I think it was Hazal. There's a teaching in Hazal. If you guys don't know what Hazal is, it's the ancient rabbis, Gamaliel, who taught St. Paul, Akiba, all the ancient rabbis, who were saying what they heard from their fathers, who heard from their fathers, who heard from their fathers, going back to Mount Sinai. Anyway, Hazal say that talk about two messiahs. One is Mashiach ben David, and the other is Mashiach ben Yosef. Messiah, son of David, and the other is Messiah, son of Joseph. And by Joseph, they mean the patriarch Joseph. And so, even though by God's prophetic design and his little wink and good storytelling, it happens to be that Jesus's father on earth was named Joseph. So it works out beautifully. But Mary must have known about the teaching, the prophetic teaching of Mashiach ben Yosef. And the thing about Messiah ben Joseph, the Jews think that there's going to be two. They don't think that it's one person. But there's a teaching about Messiah ben Joseph who has to come and suffer and be beaten. And Isaiah 53, basically. And they call this figure Mashiach ben Joseph. So she must have known that there was this teaching. And so when the angel comes and says, that which will be born of you will be called holy, the Son of God. I'm wondering how much time passed, like we don't know. We don't, when she hears the angel's words and she has to make a decision, I guess our assumption is she did it in haste, just like she went to Elizabeth's, and that's one of the virtues, to do things a quick responsive love. But we don't know how long she pondered. Will you receive potentially, well, actually, Mashiach ben Joseph? Your son's mission is to be beat, spat upon, beard plucked out, marred beyond any other mortal. That's the game plan. Do you accept? So today, let us celebrate with solemnity, folks, as we contemplate this beaver galleon we're on in this world here. This wonderful world. And we'll start off with reply. Ladies and gentlemen, here we begin. Chapter break. We began the reading and study and possible commentary on St. Thomas Aquinas' Summa Theologiae. And we're in question 12, moving out of Article 8 and into Article 9. We're picking up reply to objection 4 from yesterday. Here we go. To Reuven, excuse me. The natural desire of the rational creature is to know everything that belongs to the perfection of the intellect, namely the species and the genre of things and their types. And these everyone who sees the divine essence will see in God. Thomas is saying, remember, the objection was we naturally want to know everything, so how can we be happy in heaven if we can't know everything? And reminds me of an atheist who became Christian, I think, theist anyway. And he said that during his time, he was a scientist, and he says, during my time of study, I never thought about God, never thought about the deeper things of life. Where do I come from? What does this life mean? Where am I going? Because he was too engrossed in woke up every morning excited to go to the lab and study. The thing he was trying to convey to people is, people who are not scientists, you got to understand and pray for these atheistic scientists, because it's not like, you may think that they're rebelling, and in a sense they are. I guess God's only the judge of that, and who knows. But this guy was trying to convey over to you. You also have to realize it's like these people that get into video games. Like I said at that video game conference I went to, or whatever it was, I can't remember. I did a show at a Comic-Con. They had those signs up: don't forget to eat, don't forget to drink water, don't forget to take a shower. These people are so engrossed in the video game that time just stops meaning anything. And this guy was trying to say, you have to understand, for a lot of these atheistic scientists, that that's how it is for them. They wake up in the morning excited. They can't wait to go find the new thing. And Thomas is talking about that our intellect desires to know. It belongs to the perfection of the intellect. Namely, we desire to know the species and genre of things and their types. And these, everyone who sees the divine image will see. When all scientific inquiry will rest in the profundity of the beatific vision, that everything you've gone to the lab curious to find the next thing, you will enter into an experience of what all that means and is oriented towards, and you'll have a relationship with it. As exciting as it is for you now to find species and genre and distinctions, it'll be much more of an experience for you when you see that all those things are in relationship, and that you get to be in loving, might I even say with Simeon the new theologian, erotic relationship with all of these cause and effect relationships, coming from the beginning cause and effect of loving, orgasmic interpersonal relationship that is the divine essence. I'm laughing at how much time I'm taking, but still, people, we gotta understand these things. But to no other singulars, their thoughts and their deeds does not belong to the perfection of the created intellect, nor does its natural desire go out to these things. Neither again does it desire to know things that exist not as yet, but which God can call into being. He's saying it doesn't naturally desire to know that. Again, we could argue, does it desire to know it at all? Of course, we're curious about all the possible worlds God could create, but our natural bent is towards figuring out genre and species in front of us, and that's what Thomas is trying to say. We'll still be happy because we'll be able to see those things. Yet if God alone were seen, who is the font and principle of all being and all truth, he would so fill the natural desire of knowledge that nothing else would be desired, and the seer would be completely beatified. Hence, Augustine says in the Confessions, unhappy the man who knoweth all these things, that is, creatures, and knoweth not thee. But happy whoso knoweth thee, although he know not these. And whoso knoweth both thee and them is not the happier for them, but for thee alone. Our happiness will derive not from all the things we know about the beloved, but that we are knowing the beloved. When you are with your beloved in the marital act, you're not happy because you are comprehending how the liver works, how the bronchial tubes work, the exact size of the foot or the kneecap. That's not what your joy is in knowing the beloved. So Thomas is saying we may not know its exact everything as God knows, but we will still be in full beatitude. Article 9, whether what is seen in God by those who see the divine essence is seen through any similitude. Let's guess. Probably not. Larry, it seems that what is seen in God by those who see the divine essence is seen by means of some similitude, for every kind of knowledge comes about by the knower being assimilated to the object known. For thus the intellect in act becomes the actual intelligible, and the sense in act becomes the actual sensible, inasmuch as it is informed by similitude of the object, as the eye by the similitude of color. Therefore, if the intellect of one who sees the divine essence understands any creature in God, it must be informed by their similitude. As we've said, Thomas said before, when you look at a cup, you don't have a cup in your eye, the substance of the cup. You have a similitude of the form of the cup within you. And so the objection that Larry is giving is that there must be some similitude by which we see the divine essence. Okay, up steps Ralph. He's going to have an objection. Further, what we have seen, we keep in memory. But Paul, St. Paul, seeing the essence of God whilst, you got to love that word, whilst in ecstasy, when he had ceased to see the divine essence, as Augustine says, remembered many of the things he had seen in the rapture. Hence he said, I have heard secret words which it is not granted to men to utter. 2 Corinthians. Therefore, it must be said that certain similitudes of what he remembered remained in his mind. And in the same way, when he actually saw the essence of God, he had a certain similitude of ideas of what he actually saw. Ralph is trying to make an argument that we're seeing the essence of God through similitudes. And Thomas says, on the contrary, said contra, Larry and Ralph, a mirror and what is in it are seen by means of one likeness, but all things are seen in God as in an intelligible mirror. Therefore, if God himself is not seen by any similitude, if God himself is not seen by any similitude by his own essence, neither are the things seen in him seen by any similitude or ideas. It's interesting that his argument from authority looks like he's the authority. He's not referencing anybody here.
True.
He's just like, on the contrary, shut up, dude. I'm Thomas. I'm the authority here today. It's fine because he was the magister, the master, the teacher. So sure. Obviously now we look back on him and it's St. Thomas, but I mean, people had respect for him just like we have respect for Peter Kreeft. When Kreeft walked in the room and I played chess with him, everybody was like, "Oh, Mr. Kreeft, can I get you anything? Would you like a sandwich, sir?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure it was that way with Thomas, but then there were probably, just like always, the people who were like, "Why is he such a big deal? I don't think why is everybody acting like he's such a thing?" You always got that. Mm-hmm. I answered that. Those who see the divine essence see what they see in God, not by any likeness, but by the divine essence itself. We already knew that. United to the intellect. For each thing is known insofar as its likeness is in the one who knows. Now, this takes place in two ways. Distinctions, as I've told you before. For as things which are like one and the same thing are like to each other, the cognitive faculty can be assimilated to any knowable object in two ways. In one way, it is assimilated by the object itself when it is directly informed by a similitude. And then the object is known in itself. In another way, when informed by a similitude which resembles the object. And in this way, the knowledge is not of the thing in itself, but of the thing in its likeness. For the knowledge of a man in himself differs from the knowledge of him in his image. I saw an image of the Lord yesterday from the Shroud of Turin. Very affecting. Hence, to know things thus by their likeness in the one who knows is to know them in themselves or in their own nature, whereas to know them by their similitudes, pre-existing in God, is to see them in God. He slipped in that one there. The similitudes are in the essence. This is a deep thing that could spend a lot of time you have to contemplate it. You have to roll it around on your intellect. You have to meditate on these things and ponder them in your hearts. The similitudes are pre-existing. It's also very helpful to have heard Kabbalistic speech where it talks about the unfolding of the Ein Sof, or the hidden thing of God up within God. There's like those Russian dolls, like Chichka. What do they call Chichka dolls? I don't remember. But there's a unfolding, but everything is a movement out from the original light. And so Thomas is referring to that, but in his language, that there's a pre-existing similitude in God, and we see this essence of the thing. Now, there is a difference between these two kinds of knowledge. Hence, according to the knowledge whereby things are known by those who see the essence of God, they are seen in God himself, not by any other similitudes, but by the divine essence. The similitude is in the essence. You're seeing directly. It's sort of like that. I told you that dream I had about Randy, where I was hanging out, talking to him and seeing him. And then in the dream, I start pulling backwards away from him. And then I leave his chest. And then I can see his body. And I realized I couldn't see him as well. In this dream, God had given me this fantastical experience of having what kind of knowledge we will have up in the heavens. That is a more direct knowledge. I had likened it also to the computer code as different from the avatar on the screen that you have to turn around to see the back of it and front of it, and you have to move it around to see it. But if you knew the complete code and the code was just in your mind somehow, you would immediately at once see the front and the back and know the whole thing because the whole code of the thing was inside of you. That's kind of what Thomas is trying to get at. In the divine essence, you will see the actual beginning, or the actual similitude in the essence. You won't need to see the unfolding of the thing. It'll be that's a lesser vision. They are seen in God himself, not by any other similitudes, but by the divine essence alone present to the intellect, by which God himself is seen. Reply to objection 1. The created intellect of one who sees God is assimilated to what is seen in God, inasmuch as it is united to the divine essence, in which the similitudes of all things pre-exist. He's saying what I just said. Moving on. Reply to objection 2. Some of the cognitive faculties form other images from those first conceived. Thus, the imagination from the preconceived images of a mountain and the preconceived images of gold can form the likeness in your mind of a golden mountain. This is common philosophical talk here. How we can create things. Usually it's unicorn. People always use unicorn. I can say what a horse is. I know what a horn is. Put a horn on a horse and a unicorn, but the unicorn doesn't really exist. You make it exist in your mind. Okay, golden mountain. And the intellect from the preconceived ideas of genus and difference form the ideas of species. In like manner, from the similitude of an image, we can form in our minds the similitude of the original of the image. Thus, Paul, or any other person who sees God, which would be like Simeon, the new theologian, who wrote his erotic love poetry of God after he had had the divine vision. Very good poems, by the way, especially number 15. Those who know, know. Thus, Paul, or any other person who sees God by the very vision of the divine essence, can form in himself the similitude of what is seen in the divine essence, which remained in Paul even when he had ceased to see the essence of God. Still, this kind of vision whereby things are seen by this likeness, thus conceived, is not the same as that whereby things are seen in God. He's saying that any similitudes in Paul's mind after seeing the vision of God are a cobbling together of those essential similitudes that are in God later and putting things together. It's a lesser sort of cognition, whereas divine essence, all of these things are immediately seen, like I talked about with the computer code. Article 10, whether those who see the essence of God see all things, see all they see in it at the same time. Interesting question. Do you see it all at the same time? Let's see the objection from Larry. It seems that those who see the essence of God do not see all they see in him at one and the same time. For according to the philosopher, which of course is Aristotle, it may happen that many things are known, but only one is understood. But what is seen in God is understood, for God is seen by the intellect. Therefore, those who see God do not see all in him at the same time. This is going to be an interesting question, which we will tackle tomorrow. Guys, how did we do? Are we over 45 minutes, Joe? Joe, did you fall
No,
asleep?
sir. You went through that quick. We got 38.
Wow.
How does he
Fantastical.
do it? Wow.
How does he do it? Remember the old days when it used to be an hour-long show?
Yeah.
Boy, those were hard days on the Beaver
Yeah, an
Galleon.
eternity ago.
Sunburnt. Now we get out there on deck, have our conversation, and get back down into the cigar lounge, down in the captain's quarters. All right, guys. It's been a pleasure. I'm going to go prepare myself to have coffee with Mother Gabriella. It'll be a beautiful day for me. I'll let you know if there is any crazy stories that happen with trying to get in this down the red ladder with this guy tomorrow. See, what happened was, since we have a little time, I don't know if I told this story online or not, but last time Mother Citronella, last time Mother Gabriella and myself had coffee, it's like a year ago or something, I don't remember. And we went to this one really cool coffee shop in this one little cool town. And I think I did tell this story online, but I'll repeat it for all the new viewers, the massive influx of new viewers that we have. Alexa's yapping out there. What is she talking about?
I don't know. Probably talking about you.
The dogs and the cats are going crazy. Alexa's going crazy. Anyway, we go for a walk afterwards because we see this house from the window of the coffee shop and it has the red staircase and we're like, ooh, that looks cool. Let's go check it out. And we go around down that street. It's house, just like a residential street, but not quite, because it's off of a bridge and there's a beautiful field in it. So, and it's right on the other side of the main downtown strip, like 4th Street. And so anyway, we walk, and this house is red, and there's stuff hanging from it. I know I told this story before, like saddles and things, and the door is wide open. You can look inside, and it's full of stuff, just tables full of things, and it looks like an antique store. And so we just walk into the place, and this dude comes around the corner. Hey, what are you doing? And we're all smiles. I'm like, checking out your place. He goes, this is not a business. This is my personal house. And of course, I friendlied him down off the ledge. And Mother Gabriella took off. She left me alone. There were these 2 huge dogs, like the hounds of the Baskervilles, surrounding me. But anyway, we're going to try to go back to this guy's house and get in. We're going to be like, hey, remember us from a year ago? We just thought it'd be cool if we walked through your house and see it and then go down that staircase. We'll see. And I told you also, he looked like an old hippie burnout dude.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll go. Maybe, yeah. That reminds me also, I walked into a shop once. This is going to be kind of scandalous. I'm glad it's at the end of the video. It's going to be kind of scandalous. For you tender-hearted religious people, remember, I did not grow up in religion. And also remember, I didn't grow up in a sweetsy house and everything. So I'm on tour or something. I'll go in some random coffee shop, and some dude's over there, some kid, and he's like, I can't remember what he says to me, but he starts talking to me, and he said something about, I love hippies. Now remember, I'm wearing cowboy boots. I'm wearing cowboy boots, and I don't know if I had a cowboy hat on, but I had long hair. This is all this kid knows: long hair, hippie. The hippie.
Were you wearing your drug rug at the time too, or what? Did that?
I don't think I was, but
just in case anyone was wondering, he does own one of those and wears it frequently, but refuses to acknowledge he looks in any way like a hippie.
Well, I can see a somewhat connection, but I guess when you come out of a world like 2000s, 90s, it gets blurry in the back.
That's fair.
Like
that's fair.
When you're looking back, and so you just see a thing and you reference it. But I've never liked that kind of. I like hippie girls, I'll admit that. But for myself, I never liked that kind of music, that kind of world. Hated the Grateful Dead. So anyway, something just came up in me, and I turned on this kid and I go, I effing hate hippies. I said it like with a death thing too. I didn't say it like funny. It was inappropriate. It was inappropriate. And I said the full, I didn't say effing, I said it full. And I said something about violence that I'd done in the past. How I enjoyed watching a hippie be violently. You got to remember also, I grew up listening only to AC/DC. And then my buddies listened to like punk rock, Minor Threat. We also listened to Venom, satanic metal, death metal. And so like the hippie, like, oh dude, peace and love, man. We hated those people. And so something in just the mood I was in, and I walk in and that kid's like, hippie. I reverted back to that freaking junior high death metal satanic punk rock kid who would go out and just beat the crap out of people for no reason. And I was like, yeah, this poor kid. I'm sorry, man. And I didn't say that's all right. I just turned around and walked away. Oh, it's so terrible. I really don't think I would do that now. This was only a few years ago. This is probably like 8 years ago. I don't know. Anyway, that's my beautiful story to end our day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is all straw. Pray and meditate so you're not a satanic and terrible